Good morning. This is day 6 of my 30-day of challenging myself to provide a record of what I do with data-driven fasting. It's also like what some of the people that do an actual 30-day data-driven fasting challenge experience. And so I have day 1 through 5 recorded, and today is the beginning of day 6. I'm sitting in the backyard of my daughter and son-in-law's home in Los Angeles, California. My own home is in the Dallas, Texas area, and but I'm here for a couple of weeks, and I thought it was actually a good time to do a 30-day challenge because I think a lot of people think that they can only make changes or challenge themselves to improve when all the circumstances in life are perfect. When they're home, not on vacation. Now, I'm not on vacation, but I'm definitely not at home. And so I'm out of my own element. I'm not in my own kitchen. It's not as easy for me to control what I would eat because I'm not in my own kitchen, and I can't go to the grocery store as I would like. I'm a guest in somebody else's home, basically, and I have different things to work with. But it's still possible for me to use my data, my glucose numbers, to manage my weight and my wellness. And so I'm gonna show you the days of recording on my Renfo scale app and show you what has happened to my numbers as I've traveled. I'll turn my phone around so you can see the numbers. And the very first day that I was getting ready to leave Dallas at the DFW airport to fly to LAX, that morning I weighed 144.4. And then so from here to here records the difference between the morning that I left and the next morning. I ate kind of lightly on my day of travel, and day 1 video shows what I ate. Then I got here and I had my first day here I had deep dish pizza, and my second day here I had deep dish pizza again, but I also started to go overboard on food. I began to be a little bit gluttonous, and I didn't stop with my meal. I continued on. But then I pulled myself back into line, and you can see that reflected on the scale dips down. And then this morning, the weight is 141.6. So I believe that all of those weights are also mentioned, day by day in my previous days' videos, days 1 through 5. So here we are starting day 6 of my own personal 30-day challenge. I think it's kind of interesting because, let's see, today's Wednesday, and on Saturday, in a few more days, there will be people that will be starting a data-driven fasting 30-day challenge, which this is pretty much that, but I'm doing it solo and recording it as I am away from home and traveling. I just thought this was an opportune time to do something like this. So they're going to start an official 30-day challenge, and I'll be in that group too, but I'll just be ahead of the group, and maybe I'll share what I'm doing or what I've already done, because I've done the baselining, which is the first 3 days of the challenge. People are taking their pre-meal glucose numbers that are used by the data-driven app to calculate their own personal target glucose number. So I just switched my phone screen to the data-driven app to show you my screen. And so my own personal target glucose number is 83. And I haven't entered today's data, so these numbers are going to change in just a minute as I enter this morning's data. So I'll switch the camera around and I'll start taking my data. I'll enter the weight that I had. I haven't put that on here. And I'll take my blood glucose and see what the new number, if anything pops up new for information on the data-driven app. Okay, so there's my Dario kit. Take the cap off and I'll get out 3 test strips. Oops. Okay. And have those down and ready. I'll hold on to one. Open up, get the meter out, put that in the end of my phone. And then put, yes, I'm going to allow the Dario app. And I'm going to put the test strip. Wait, let's wait for the little circle to come up. Insert new strip. Put that there. And then I'm going to pick on my pinky today. I usually stick with one finger for a whole day and then move it around so I don't abuse one finger over and over again. And I pull up another drop of blood right away. Okay, 91. And let's check mark that so it records. And then let's stick another stick in, place a drop of blood, do that, draw another drop in case I need it. 90. Nope, I don't need it. Okay, I'm going to stick with the 90. Since those numbers were within 3 digits of each other, that's good enough. I'll put that test strip back in. Put the meter back in the case. Click that down. Put the cap back on. All right. So there's that. Now let's bring this down a little bit and go to the data-driven, the data-driven fasting app. Touch on that. So now I'm going to enter my numbers. I'm going to hit track, and I'm going to hit biomarkers because I can do both glucose and weight from there. Select biometric. I'm going to hit weight. That's a very happy number this morning, and put in the value of 141.6. Record. It was 141.6, right? Let me go back to the Renfro. Yeah, 141.6. I'm not imagining it. Okay, back to the data-driven fasting app. Track again. Biomarkers. Select a biometric. And here we go again. This happened the other day. The biometric didn't want to open up for me, which happens sometimes on my phone. All right, so let's close that and go just track glucose. Thankfully, that's what I need to track. Okay, I could switch to my iPad, but I'd rather not. So waking, and my waking value I'm putting down is 90. And I don't need, here, I'll hit done here so I can see the other menu. I don't need to add in any of these mitigating factors for it to give me grace on my trigger value, because if I were under high stress, or I'd exercised, or I was fatigued, or having my period, long gone on that, poor sleep, or pain, I could hit one of those and it would adjust my glucose trigger. But none of those things apply to me. So my waking glucose value is 90, and that's what I'm recording. And so now let's refresh. Okay, so that didn't change anything drastically on here. I can read the daily lesson if I want, And the daily lesson is about which blood sugar meter should I buy. Well, my personal favorite is Dario, because that's what that's what costs me the least amount of money. I'll add more information on that in a second. I'm going to touch these 3 dots and look at quick actions. What is that giving me the option for? I don't know. Oh, quick actions. The menu is asked. I could look at these things. What is DDF? What is the baseline? What is hunger training? What is maintenance? Not interested in reading any of those right now. I can go back. I can hit navigate, and if I wanted to look at the other information about learning, I could hit learn on here. I could open up the whole DDF manual. I could go to the DDF community. Let's do that while we're here on the phone. So that takes me to the Facebook group, 12,000 members. Marty's actually not hanging out on Facebook very much anymore. He's in the Mighty Networks app platform, which is free to join, and he's loaded it with lots of free information. So that link to where he's hanging out will be there in the description area of the video, YouTube video. I started to ramble. Sorry about that. I thought I better just turn around, sit down, and talk to you about meters, because I'd mentioned that. So I said that my favorite is the Dario meter kit, where everything's all right here. When I first started this process of using my glucose information to manage my weight and wellness, I began by going to Walmart and getting a $20 meter that was called a Rely On Premier kit, and they sell that in a box. I'll put up a picture on the screen here in a second. So for $20 you can get everything you need for testing 50 different, you can do 50 blood drops, and that's the cheapest way to get started with testing your glucose if you're not going to stick with it, because why spend $200 getting the Dario annual subscription if you're not going to stick with sticking your finger? But if you are going to use your glucose as your wellness and weight management tool, keeping yourself honest, because the bathroom scale isn't enough for me, and but my glucose number, that's real time, hour to hour information if I want it. And that's what using your glucose meter article that I found by Marty Kendall taught me, how to use your glucose meter as a fuel gauge. That will be linked in the video description box. The original article no longer exists. Marty has updated it in the last 3.5 years. He actually created the data-driven fasting challenge process after that original article was written. So in the description box, I have all kinds of links for you. I have a link to the $200 subscription for Dario. Not an affiliate. I'm not getting anything out of that. I'm just sharing with you what I think is the best resource. I have a linked video of the time I was in Walmart helping a friend find the Rely On blood glucose meter kit, so you can look at that video if you want. They've changed since then. Since I made that video, they've changed the look of the box, but you'll get the idea of watching that video or seeing the picture that I have on the screen of the Rely On Premier kit that would cost you $20 to get started with. I have a link to Marty's free off Facebook platform that I just was rambling on about a second ago, because while he's still on Facebook, that's not where the challenges run. He puts some content on Facebook, but most of the day-to-day activity is going on in the off Facebook platform, and it's free to join, and there's free content in there that you never have to spend a dime if you don't want to, if you're willing to teach yourself from the free resources, which is what I did in the beginning. What else would I share with you? Well, I could tell you that you could track a whole lot more than what you just saw me do on my phone this morning. In addition to putting down your weight, you can keep track of your body's fat percentages. You can track your blood pressure measurements, which actually that's one of the things that I've been doing for the past probably 2 years, I think. You could track your ketones, either breath ketones or blood ketones. There's a space on the app to do that. I do track my blood ketones, but I'm not going to complicate this challenge by sharing that information in this 30 days. So all I'm trying to share with you is the basic bare minimum things that you would benefit from tracking, and that is your pre-meal glucose numbers. So I just opened up, looked at my phone again to see on that Facebook page what Marty had recently put up. An hour ago, he put up an article. What is the longest, or a question, what is the longest you have fasted? Did you find it helpful to your long-term progress? Well, I can answer that here on this video. The longest I have personally fasted was, I think, 74 or 76 hours. I was kind of going for the 72-hour mark, but I couldn't break fast right at 72 hours. And so I ended up going longer. I think I did a couple of 72-hour fasts. Were they helpful? Yeah, for what they taught me about myself. But is that the way I want to live? No. When I began using Marty's teaching, which came from that blog post, how to use a glucose meter as your fuel gauge, I was doing Trim Healthy Mama, and the practice with that lifestyle is to eat every 3 to 4 hours. Well, I had great success with that since 2013. I began doing that, coming off from 17 years of low carb living, which was successful to some degree, except for I didn't like carbohydrates being off limits to me, and I would crave them and I would cave into them. So I found Trim Healthy Mama. I lived with that successfully for 5 years, I think, before I hit menopause, and the weight gain started to creep up a little by little. So for 2 years I was searching for answers. How do I hold back the tide on this menopausal weight? I was getting, weight was coming on around my middle, and in my research I found out that menopause belly is a term that you can search and read about. There's plenty of content out there to read about it. Thankfully, in a Trim Healthy Mama group, I stumbled upon a little screenshot image of a small chart with some blood glucose numbers on it. Now, Trim Healthy Mama talks about, that this way of eating, of fuel separating, eating either carbs or fats with your proteins to manage your health, your glucose, is a healthy thing to do. But they never actually talked about putting that idea together with the use of a glucose meter, though I know that Pearl and Serene were doing that as they developed the plan, because they talked about it on one of the potties. Somebody asked Pearl a direct question and she answered, yes, I did use a glucose meter. I'll link that potty in this video description box. So where am I going? Okay, so I stumbled across that little chart of glucose numbers, and the lady that posted it said that she did not eat her Trim Healthy Mama meal until she reached a particular glucose value. And I thought, that's interesting. And so I started doing some research trying to find information on that chart. Where did it come from? And I stumbled upon Marty's article, How to Use a Glucose Meter as Your Fuel Gauge. And I took off with that idea. And boy, did that work beautifully for me. It was the first time I could reliably start moving the scale in the direction I wanted it to go, instead of feeling like, you know, for 2 years prior to that, I felt like I had to more white knuckle it with Trim Healthy Mama, be really disciplined with it, and that isn't how I started Trim Healthy Mama. I was freestyling and having a lot of fun using whatever fuel I wanted. So by waiting for a certain glucose number, I was reliably pulling the weight back off my body, going back to what I like to be at as my 1984 wedding weight of 136 pounds. I'm 5'5", so 136 pounds for me is a nice healthy weight. Whereas before finding Marty's article, and that 2 years during my body's menopausal process, the weight would tick upward and then I'd fight to get it back. It would tick upward and I would fight to get it back, but it was a losing battle for me. I felt like it was, what's that phrase about one step forward, two step back, one step forward, two step back. I don't know exactly, but it was a losing battle for me until I began using a glucose meter as my fuel gauge. And so that's what I do now, and I've been doing it for the past 3.5 years. In December, the beginning of December, will be my 4-year anniversary of this. In the video description box, there is a 5-minute video clip from an interview I did with a lady, and it's just a synopsis of what I just told you now. But if you want to hear it in sort of more a succinct fashion, you can use that link to the 5-minute interview. I've also interviewed with Trim Healthy Mama coaches. I've interviewed with Jen Stevens of Delay Don't Deny. I love that principle of delay your eating. Don't deny what you want to eat, just delay it. And that goes along very nicely with this glucose as a glucose number as a fuel gauge indicator. Actually, not only did I interview with Jen, but I gushed over Marty and his ways, so that, you know, those two got connected, and Marty interviewed with Jen, and Marty also interviewed with Melanie Avalon, somebody that Jen has done a podcast with in the past. I will put that link in this video. So I think that's all for right now. At the start here of day 6 of my 30-day challenge that I'm sharing with you, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to shower and dress and get on with my morning, and I'll come back and I'll just keep updating this video, and then at some point I will have my feast. When my glucose gets down closer to my trigger, when I get hungry, you know, I pay attention to my hunger signals, and that is one of Marty's teaching. You don't have to, back to his question about how long have you fasted. He's trying to teach people this, you don't have to do long fasts. You really need to just pay attention to your glucose number, pay attention to your hunger signals. Eventually, if you connect your hunger signals to your glucose number, you can stop, you know, checking your glucose a lot. But in these beginning stages, you when you get hungry, you check your glucose, see where it's at, see how close you are to your to your trigger. My trigger is 83, and this morning my glucose, waking glucose, was 90, so I'm 7 points away. Actually, I could go ahead and eat if I wanted, if I felt hungry this morning. Marty has so much teaching about how to eat when you're hungry and you're not at your trigger value, but you're hungry. He's just a wealth of teaching information, blog posts, and it's about, his focus is on nutrition. It's not on a particular diet. So I can use whatever diet I want. My pet diet is Trim Healthy Mama, but you don't have to do Trim Healthy Mama. I've played around with mastering diabetes, and I said I was going to stop and go inside and shower. So I'm going to stop and go inside and shower and dress. It was almost 8 o'clock when I took my morning reading for you, when I recorded my morning reading, and that was 90. My glucose was 90, and I'm hungry now, so I'm going to go ahead and take a number. I'll not show it on video because I'm walking at a 2 mile an hour pace and I don't care to slow down, so just a second, let me take that reading for you. I got a 79 and an 80, so I'm going to enter a 79 into the Data-Driven Fasting app. I don't like that I can't just show you on the camera. I'd have to stop and make it go around. All you can see is that I've got an 83 as my personal trigger. So I'll just read off the screen instead of expecting you to try to see it when you can't. I'm hitting track and glucose, before meal, value of 79, and I'm leaving the blue check mark for will you eat, because I'm going to. Well, actually, the same thing that's going to happen today, same thing that happened yesterday is going to happen today. Now I'm hungry and I'm ready to eat. I've got to make my meal. I haven't prepared my meal yet. So I'm not going to do the will you eat. I'm unchecking the box. I am going to rate my hunger at, I'm going to put it at a 2, even though it was a definite good, strong hunger signal. It's already going away. So I'm hitting record. It does say, I get a message here. Congratulations. This is the first time I've gotten a congratulations, I think. Maybe not. Your blood glucose is close enough to your personal trigger. Time to eat a nutritious meal. Well, that means that I should eat, it doesn't say I need to prioritize. What are some of those messages? Let me look them up. I've written down some of the messages that you could get from the app. Just a second. Okay, here are the messages. Like just now, when I'm close to trigger, it says, congratulations, your blood glucose is close enough to your personal trigger. Time to eat a nutritious meal. And that's the guidance. Then if it's a little too far above trigger, it will say your blood glucose is just above your trigger. Only eat if you are really hungry. If you do, prioritize nutrients and higher protein percentages. And the explanation that I found from Marty on that is prioritizing dietary protein minimizes the loss of metabolically active protein from muscles and vital organs. Reducing dietary fat allows the body to utilize stored body fat for energy instead of just putting body fat in. You're going to use your own body fat. And reducing the non-fiber carbohydrates allows blood glucose stores and liver and muscle glycogen to be depleted. So that would be a fuel pull kind of meal if you were a Trim Healthy Mama follower. If you're well above your trigger, the message that you would get from the app is your blood glucose is above your personalized trigger. If really hungry and your blood glucose stays elevated, make sure you have one less meal than normal today. Well, that's not what I pay attention to because I'm a 1 meal a day girl for the most part, because I'm lazy and I don't want to make 2 meals a day. But I am telling people 2 meals a day is probably the optimal way to go. And then there are a couple post-meal messages that I've shared before. Like yesterday, I got that one, wow, that last meal considerably raised your blood sugars. Consider eating less of it or even avoiding that meal in the future. Again, I'm not going to do that. Or if a couple hours after you finish eating and your blood glucose hasn't strayed too far away from where you started, you'll get this message. Well done, you had a great meal. I do get that message a fair bit of time. I've been using the app on and off for, well, however long Marty and his business partner, Alex Zotov, made it available. I don't use it day in and day out unless I'm participating in one of the challenges. And when I participate in one of the challenges, it's actually more for an opportunity to use what I'm doing as a teaching opportunity for other people. And that's what this 30-day challenge is about. Making all these videos, not for me. I'm doing it so I have something to share with people so that they can watch the videos and see, wow, this might be something I want to do. I think people ought to use their glucose numbers as their fuel gauge. And so I'm trying to help that process along and take down some barriers like, this is confusing, this is scary. Maybe my showing people how it looks in my life will help somebody. So, time to go put together a meal, because the next time I get that hunger pang, it's probably going to be a little bit stronger nudge or a slam against the wall. We'll see. Well, again, it took me an hour to compose my meal, and I will show you a close-up of what I'm having. This probably comes closest to a crossover meal for a trim healthy mama because of the combination of fats and carbs that I have in this meal. I have quite an array of textures and tastes here. I am eating up a leftover cheese omelet that I made for the granddaughter that she turned her nose up at. So I'm being the garbage disposal and taking care of the leftovers. So that was a 2-egg omelet with a couple slices of cheddar cheese. I'm also having some lupini beans again. I will show you what that package looks like. Last time I was here with our daughter, I ordered some lupini beans from Amazon, and they're very high protein and high fiber. And so I'm just finishing up the container or the packages that I had before. So what is in my bowl is 2 packages of these single serve packages of lupini beans, and there's 18 grams of protein and 14 grams of fiber that I get to have from this meal. Not falling far from the tree, our eldest is a bit of a foodie. So I found some dill pickled cucumber chips with sea salt in her pantry, and so I'm giving those a taste test. And then yesterday I was not able to eat all 3 jars of the chicken salad that I made. That's this stuff right here. So I used 3 cans, 5-ounce cans of canned chicken, and I mixed it together with 0% fat Greek yogurt and celery and red onion. And so that custard cup dish, that's probably a third of what I mixed up yesterday and could not consume in that whole meal. So eating up my own leftovers. And with that, I will use the orange peppers as my, instead of having crackers or bread, I will use the orange peppers to eat with the chicken salad as crunch. And just like with yesterday's meal, I am having a drink of kefir, a low-fat kefir that my daughter bought for me from Trader Joe's. and I've topped it with cinnamon, a whole teaspoon of cinnamon, and today I sprinkled nutmeg on the top because I love the combination of cinnamon and nutmeg. Now this dessert thing here, it doesn't have a name. It's a concoction I came up with this as I was putting together the meal. There were some sliced strawberries that needed to be used up. So there are sliced strawberries down here in the, down here in the bottom layer. These are sliced strawberries. On top of that, I put a layer of chia seeds, which is a great way to get in omega-3s and some more fiber. Then I mixed together some 0% fat Greek yogurt. There was another container of strawberry yogurt that was low fat in the fridge. I went ahead and took that and mixed that in. I also mixed some whey protein powder in here. I had some THM whey protein powder in my box of goodies that I left from my last visit here. So I mixed that in there. And then again, I practiced the trick of mixing up peanut flour. Let me go show you that. Okay, this is from Trader Joe's, and I picked this up on my last visit to our daughter's home. And I just love using peanut flour as another protein source. And I love peanut butter, but I don't like all the fat that comes with it. So this is my way to use some peanut flour to get some peanut butter. So there is my transformed peanut flour. I mixed it with, I put in some oat fiber again, some glucomannan, a generous dose of mineral salt, and then I mixed it up with water. And so this time I made it wetter than I did yesterday when I had it on top of the sourdough toast. And then I have topped it with a little bit of strawberry jam that I found in the fridge. And then on top of that are 5 selenium nuts. Yes, they are for selenium. 5 Brazil nuts. And I use Brazil nuts for crunch and for selenium. Selenium will be linked in the, information on selenium will be linked in the description box of my video. Here is the decadent, non-nourishing part of the meal. In my daughter's pantry, I noticed that she had these white cheddar corn puffs from Trader Joe's. They've been sort of calling my name the past couple of days, and I decided, why not? Let's go ahead and have them and enjoy that treat. So there is my meal. It took me about an hour to make that, and now I'm going to take my blood sugar again. The last time I took my blood sugar, it was 79. So let's see what it's done in, it's actually over an hour. It's probably an hour and 15, maybe even an hour and 20 minutes. Let's see what my blood sugar has done. Okay, here we go. Get out the meter, plug that in, and get the 3 strips. 1, 2, 3. And then put that in the meter and get a drop of blood. Stick that to the end of the pipette end. Let's see what it says. Oh, raise the blood again. 90. Okay, I'm pretty sure that the body had to dig in and keep itself going with some previously stored fuel. But the numbers will tell. 88. Okay, well those are just two digits apart. I'm gonna go with that. Now, when I enter that into the app, it's gonna tell me that I'm above my blood sugar. But I already know I was down at 79, so I did not have to test again, and that is actually one of the things that the manual will guide you, will advise, that once you have gotten below your trigger, you don't need to test again. So, but I'm going to enter this glucose number in here. Before meal, I did will you eat? Yes. I'm going to put in here 88. And I can make adjustments later if I want, but I'll hit record. Now let's look at the message. Yes, there's that message about the blood sugar being just above your trigger. Only eat if you are really hungry, and if you do so, prioritize nutrients and higher protein. Well, I definitely have plenty of protein with my meal. As for nutrients, I'd say I'm not doing too badly there either. And I do know that I was down below my trigger, so I did not have to retest. But there's my meal that I'm going to sit down to and enjoy and read something or listen to a podcast or whatever. This is my feast, and I'm looking forward to it. Well, it's the end of the day. It's almost bedtime for little one, so I will be calling it a night too. And I just came on to say that I didn't take any real post-meal glucose numbers after my feast, but now that it's bedtime, which means, let's see, it's 8:25, and I like to go to bed at 8:30 most nights. My glucose is at 81. That's a very nice number, considering my trigger, my personal hunger trigger right now is 83. I have no sign of hunger, none whatsoever. So I'm not going to try to have any kind of bedtime snack. This is the end of day 6 of my 30-day challenge. I'm trying to do 30 videos for this experience, and tomorrow I will start day 7. I'm interested to see what my glucose value will be when I wake up in the morning. The body is very good about trying to stay steady through the night, so I don't expect to be at a big drop, especially since today's meal was also a mixed fuel meal. Not a bad clash, but it had both fuels in it. So good night and sleep tight.